the Frick and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by
This
the
is the
fans.
Frick and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.
Frick and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.
All right, guys, you're watching the Frick and Frack Show podcast for the
fans by the fans.
Caleb.
Oh yeah. What's up, buddy?
Showtime. Showtime.
How's it going, man?
It's going good, brother. This is quite the day we're having today, man. I'm pretty excited for this.
It is one that I've personally been waiting for since I don't know, ever.
Yeah. I mean, since at least 2000s, right? I mean, we're taking it back, baby.
We're taking it back to the good old days. We're going to be learning about this guy. We'll talk about the best of times and just have an all-around good show, man.
Yeah, man. As always, everybody, let us know where you're watching from, who you are. If you're new to the show, I'm expecting some newcomers coming, and we're glad to have you either way, new or old.
Yeah, welcome to the Frick and Frack Show, guys. This is a podcast all about the 90s and early 2000s. You know, guys, we're two guys talking about boy bands. We're not ashamed of our I don't know what you call it. I mean, not an obsession, but
well, I would. What were we saying the other day when we did a TikTok? We were bringing somebody on. I said. We said, if you're a product of gangster raps and boy bands, if you wore Doc Martens with overalls, if you frosted the tips, this is a podcast for you. And boy, I mean, we're talking now, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it, man.
All right, who we got today?
Mr. Chris Kirkpatrick.
My man.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going, man?
Good. So we had to wear that stuff in the 90s because I'm still wearing it now. I got the frosted tips and the... No, I never had
yeah, man. You were so well known for those braids, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no frosted tips for me. I was the anti frosted tip. I was like, you know what? Let's just go crazy. Let's do some Busta Rhymes on these kids.
Oh, yeah.
I like that, man. I like that.
All right, my man. We're gonna start at the beginning, Chris. We're gonna go way back. We're gonna go back before anybody knew every word to all your songs and before you were famous. All right, we want to go back. We want to talk about your youth, your life before fame, man. Where are you from? How'd you come up?
Well, I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania, and I kind of grew up, all around. I guess we're kind of hill people up there. But I graduated high school in Ohio and then moved to Florida in 1990, I believe, and started, doing music. I was always into music. I got into music in church and in choir and, started doing little musicals here and there and ended up making the lead in our high school musical when I was in 6th grade. And that kind of propelled me to go, hey, this is fun. This is something that, I could do, which is ironic because I don't really like musicals. I'm not a musical fan of musicals as much. I mean, there's certain odd ones. Like I saw the Monty Python one that was in New York a few times, Blue Man Group. But, as musicals go, it kind of always weirded me out when, they were right in the middle of a story and then they just broke into song. And so even though I was doing musicals my whole life, I figured I wasn't going to be on Broadway anytime soon.
Man, that's amazing. It's crazy to look back at where you came from to where you are now because, musicals or, parts of music is a large part of your history, man. It's a large part of who you are. Chris, are you with us?
Yeah, for sure. It's not that I don't a couple of the Joey's and did I leave you?
We're good.
Did.
We're good.
Am I here?
Just a sidestep.
Okay, sorry about that,
We're having a
guys.
staring contest. I was trying not to blink.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, the reception here in Columbus, Ohio is not as good as it is in Nebraska, as we
Oh.
were speaking before.
That's
But
all
we
right,
won't get into
man.
that, or we'll start fights.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. So one thing that that we kind of want to know about you is what was your first audition when it comes down to like was it in high school whenever you were doing the plays or and like are you a fan of auditions actually?
I'm not really good at auditions. I think the first audition I had was when I got that lead in the high school production when I was in 6th grade, and it was of Oliver Twist.
Oh
And I was in Pennsylvania at the time in Oil City, and I went up and I was singing. I was just singing in choir, and my choir director at one point came up and was like, "Hey, they're doing auditions for Oliver Twist for the Workhouse Boys and Fagan's Gang, and they need young kids." He said, "You should really audition." So he had me going around to the other classrooms and singing in front of the kids, which,
wow.
as crazy as it is, I think I'd be horrified now. But
Yeah.
then I was just like, all right, it's just something I was doing. And then I went up and we did the audition, and I was kind of a smart ass kid. Like I always was like, pushing the envelope a little bit. So when I was reading some of the lines, I was putting a small little British accent on it just for fun. And we went up that night and they started passing around the books, and they skipped over me, and my mom was sitting out in the audience, and I was like, oh man, this is embarrassing. I went and auditioned for a workhouse boy. I can't even get to be a workhouse boy. And then he came back to me and gave me the book of Oliver. And when he handed me Oliver, I was like, what?
Wow.
Like now I have to really work. So, got really lucky with that.
Wow, man.
So reading back on your history and your past, when you went off to college, I think I kind of want to talk about that. Going from high school off to college, what were you studying? What did you want to go into, man? What did you want to be?
Well, I moved down to Orlando. My dad was in Orlando, and when I graduated high school and I was looking to go to college somewhere, I was like, I just wanted to get out, and I got to be careful how I say this. I just kind of want to get out of Ohio, and went down there, and I started taking like all these. I mean, I was taking everything. I actually was taking a lot of music psychology classes, and next thing you know, I was waiting for one of my science classes, and I looked over on the bulletin board, and they were auditioning, or I don't think it was an audition. They just needed guys in choir. And I was like, man, I was in choir all through junior high and high school. I love choir. I always keep falling back on this music thing. So I went down and talked to the guy, and it was Dr. Graham, and sang for him. And he's like, cool, how's this little scholarship or something? I was like, wait, you're going to pay me to be in choir? I was like, this is awesome. So, it just became, from then on, it was all about music.
Wow. What was your influence with music? Not just people, but what made you want to be? What made you want to go into music? Was it your voice, or was it just something that I know it said it kept falling into your lap, but going back into it like as a child, did you like to sing or anything?
I always liked to sing. My mom sang, my grandparents sang. I have uncles and aunts and cousins that are all in bands and sing. So it was kind of like a family thing that we all just, it was like everybody just sang. Like that's what you just do, you sing. So, it just kept coming back, like I said. And I think, my mom influenced me a lot. My mom was always, letting me listen to really cool music. I really got, when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money. So, it was hard for us to really listen to any music except for what my mom had or whatever. And the first records we ever owned was a Barry Manilow, Kenny Rogers, and a storm, just like a storm, like just hear a storm. And then my mom always got me into the Beatles. Like she was always big into the Beatles. So, you know, growing up, it was a lot of Beatles. In fact, for a while, you know, I thought that they were the only band that existed. But then it became total pop music, and I was always into the weird pop though. Like I always liked, you know, when Queen, ELO, The Clash, Adam Ant, like it was always this edgy kind of pop that really wasn't, it was mainstream, but it was on the cutting edge of, you know, not mainstream, I guess.
On the topic of Queen and the Beatles, that era fascinates me. I mean, I'm younger, I guess, when we're talking about that type of music. But I mean, what's the Chris Kirkpatrick go-to Queen song, man?
Lately, it's definitely been. Let's see, because I've got my son. My son loves a song. Is it a? Na 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 na, ready to fly on the right.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, 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 let's go.
I know the words.
Turn it inside out.
Yeah, man.
1,000 degrees. That's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. Yeah. So that one. But you know what? My favorite always was. I always loved Killer Queen by Queen. That was always the one that like I could listen to it over and over and over again. In fact, now that I just said that, I've got this playlist that I have that is like, it goes from, you know, old Beatles songs to any Dua Lipa. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to put that song in there because I already have. I think it's a Can't Stop Us Now or something like that, or Don't Stop Us Now.
There you go.
So now I'm gonna have to put Killer Queen on it too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, my Spotify list grows every day. The more and more things I hear, or you know, new upcoming artists and everything, I usually just add all their albums and just man, every day is like, for me, music has been a huge part of my life. I think music is what got me through. Besides God, music got me through a lot of things, and it's amazing looking back, even like Queen and things like. Yeah. You know, like We Will Rock You. Like when I was mad, I'd put that song on, man. That was like my rebellion anthem.
There you go.
Well, it is strange though when you look at it. Like, you know, like I said, most of the stuff I listen to is pop, and rock and hip hop. But you know, looking back on some of the songs, there was some stuff in there that I had no idea what I was singing about, and it was not, you know, content appropriate for a 8-year-old to sing about or a 7-year-old to sing about. And the only reason I realize that now is because I have a 3-year-old, and I just go through my playlist, and it's awesome till he's in the kitchen with my wife, and I hear him, you know, singing the F word, and I was like, where did he learn that song? That was me.
Yeah. Yep. Been there.
It's definitely weird looking back, especially with music, because even like the 90s had a lot of references and other meanings in their songs, you know, that were not appropriate. But here, you know, like what was it, Barbie Girl?
Yeah.
You know, Aqua.
Yeah. Aqua.
That is such a great song, but my goodness, when you listen to it and you really break down the lyrics, you're questioning a lot of things you used to say, you know, at 8 years old or 10 years old when it released, you know.
But I think it's all kind of innocent, you know. It's not it's not one of those things that when we were kids, we weren't singing about the content of it. We were singing the words of it, and we liked the songs, you know. I mean, my son loves Harry Styles' Watermelon Sugar, you know, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, he can sing it. It's if teachers at school are like, hey, you know what that song's about? Or I'm like, don't tell him what it's about. Just let him sing the song. He loves the song.
Yeah, because to him, it's not what they're thinking. You know?
Don't ruin it for him. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, you can't sing Harry Styles anymore. You'll probably break his heart.
Yeah. So talking about the 90s and all that, man, and how music was transforming at that time, take us back to the audition, or no, back up before the audition for NSYNC. How did you hear about the band? How did you know that something was up and coming?
Well, first of all, there was no audition for NSYNC. You know, second of all, I started the band. It wasn't, it wasn't like somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to do this band. Let's do it." You know, I had a buddy of mine named Charlie Edwards, who I was in choir with, and I had these quartets. That's one thing that I always did whenever I came down and I started in that choir that I said I made in college. First thing I did was I started doing these quartets, and all we did was we had 4 of us who were 4 different parts, and I would arrange everything from, Boys to Men to Ladysmith Black Mambazo to, also anything I could arrange, I would arrange, and I, teach everybody their parts, and we'd sing these songs, and I always just enjoyed these a cappella groups. So I had an a cappella group. This guy, Charlie Edwards, was in the a cappella group with me. And, one day we were about to have rehearsal, and he came in and said, I can't be in the band anymore. I got a gig. And I'm like, "What do you mean you got a gig?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just joined this other band. They're just starting out. They're called the Backstreet Boys." Oh. And I'm like, "What is this?" So I was also in that choir. A year later, Howard Durow was in choir with me. So it was me, Howard, Howie, and this kid, Charlie Edwards. So Charlie left because Howie came in and said, "Hey, you should be in the Backstreet Boys." So Charlie went and, joined the Backstreet Boys. And then, maybe a year down the line, I guess he had some problems with them and called me up one day and said, "Lou Pearlman wants to start another group, bring in your quartet." So I came in and brought a couple of the guys in, and then this was a long time of rehearsals and guys dropping out and me finding new guys, and things just happened. So in the end, it just became Charlie left. So it was me on my own, scraping together guys and finding guys, and finally there was a point where it was only me, and I was like, well, I'm still gonna find a group. And I went looking around and found this kid. This guy gave me this kid's name in this manila envelope, and I popped the tape in my car on the way home and looked at the headshot, and I was like, Justin Timberlake. Like, I didn't understand. I was like, I don't get it. Like, who is this kid? And I see him in the Mickey Mouse Club, and I was like, holy cow! Like, this kid's famous already. Like, he's on the Mickey Mouse Club. And I called him up, and not to get too deep into it, because I know this was off topic and you guys really didn't discuss, kind of, but
oh, it's fine. Whatever
if
you want to
you
discuss,
want to,
I'm fine. But at the time, Lou was telling me that he didn't want anybody to know about this group because he had the Backstreet Boys, and Lou was working with the Backstreet Boys, and one thing that was congruent with our group was the fact that Lou would say, I'm part of you guys. Like, you guys are my guys. I'm like, Papa Lou or whatever, and not knowing that he was saying the same thing to them. And then, so I couldn't tell anybody that Lou was involved. So it was just me.
Wow.
So when I called Justin and Justin's mom, I was like, listen, this sounds really creepy, because at the time, I think I was probably like 23 years old, maybe. I think I was probably 23, and Justin was like 14 or 13. And I'm like, would Justin be willing to come to Orlando to join my group? And I said, I do have people involved, but I can't really I've got a financial backer and whatever. And Justin's mom and Justin were like, yeah, let's do it. Wow. And they said, I've also been working with this kid, JC, that was on the Mickey Mouse Club too. Do you need more members? And I was like, yeah, actually, if Justin says yes, now it's me and Justin. So, they came down, brought JC. We were out one night and ran into Joey. And we still needed guys. So I was like, what about this guy? And Joey and I were friends because I knew him at Universal Studios. And he was also in this group called the Big Guys, which was his high school quartet type thing. And that's kind of what I was doing, but in college. So Joey came on board, and he ended up bringing this kid, Jason. And so that's how we got the name NSYNC, because Justin's mom put the last letter of all of our first names down. And she said, Justin, Chris, Joey, Jason, and JC, the last letters of your first name spells NSYNC. What about NSYNC? And I was like, well, it's better than the crap we had before that. I like that name. So next thing you know, this Jason kid, we were signing a deal and he didn't want to sign. So the four of us signed a deal, and about maybe a year and a half later, we found Lance.
You found the bass, huh?
We found the bass. I remember when Lance came in town too and was like, we think we got the kid for the bass.
Come on.
And he was in this room with our vocal coach. Mm-hmm. And she started going, she was like, well, let's find your range. And Justin and I have our ear to the door to see if this is a kid. And she started going down the keyboard and kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. And he kept hitting the notes. And me and Justin were outside high-fiving, and we're like, this is a kid.
Dude. Wow, man. It's like, we've watched all the documentaries our whole life. We've watched all these interviews our whole life, but we still learned something new from this.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Oh, you ain't seen none of this shit yet.
Let's go, man.
Yeah, man. When it comes down to arrangements, did y'all kind of decide on who's doing what? Or was it like Lance, of course, was it already, all right, you're doing bass, you're doing tenor and falsetto and everything?
I think it was kind of, we kind of figured it out because, I had a voice that when I talked, it was really, I developed really late, and it was really high. Wow. And I just always was, really high. So they're like, okay, you sing the high stuff. Lance, you sing the low stuff. And the other three guys, I guess Joey's more of a baritone. So it was Lance, then Joey, and then Justin and JC could switch off. And then I was on top. And it was funny because we first started doing, records and music. We were doing just song after song. And in all the songs, they're like, all right, let's try Chris on this lead again. And they tried me on the lead, and they were just like, yeah, it's not, I don't know what it is, but you're not a girl group. So let's let Justin and JC start these.
I mean, can I?
Didn't hurt my feeling.
Nope.
Can I say, man? This is the absolute truth. There wasn't enough of you as lead in NSYNC. I mean, drive myself crazy.
Honestly, it's fine.
I figured
it's fine.
I figured it would be. But
that wasn't my forte.
But for the fans, everybody's like, we want to hear Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I think the cool thing about the group was there was never a point where we sat down and said, okay, this is what your part's going to be. You'll be the high one. Like it just was it was natural. Like everything worked the way it did, having JC and Justin do a lot of all the leads. It just made sense. I mean, their voices were so mature, and what they could do is so amazing. And having Joey doing his baritone and Lance doing the bass, it was just it just all. I can't really even explain how it just all fit, and it was always like that. From the jump. That's exactly everything about every part of everything we did was. It just worked, and it just kept working, and it was almost to a point where it didn't make sense to me. Like I was like, where's the roadblock, or where's the hiccup? Where's this going to be, start to be tough? And not to say it wasn't work. Guys in a group that, worked. We all pushed each other to work. And I hear these solo artists now, and I realize like how hard it is, as a solo act, because you have to, be you and be on all the time. Whereas with us, if something happened, you had the other 4 guys to fall back on, or pick up the slack, or slap you on the head and say, stop doing that, whatever you're doing. And let's do it right.
That's incredible, man.
Yep. And I think that's how you had something special, right? Is when Caleb and I can hear it from your voice say, it didn't matter. Like we didn't care. Whatever worked. And speaking of work, I want to go back again. And you were talked about rehearsals, and I want to know, because we hear a lot about, hey, we put hours in. We put these hours in. We were working our tails off, like Backstreet, for example, in an airplane hangar. What was it like for you guys in the beginning, man? Let's talk about it.
Well, we were the redheaded stepchild of that whole organization. So we got hand-me-downs, and it was like, well, they're recording and working here, so you guys get this warehouse or this room with a fan, in Florida, in Orlando, in August.
Jeez.
Where I probably weighed 100 pounds back then, and the work was work. I mean, it wasn't overnight success story, to say the least. I mean, there were hours, days, weeks, months, years of working and over and over and over on songs, and getting it perfect, and getting it to the point where we like to dance a lot, we like to move, and it was just the craziest thing. Like, you do something and it's like, man, we killed that, and the choreographer, somebody go up and go, yeah, but you were about a foot off, and it makes the whole thing look weird, so let's do it again and get it exactly right. So while we're trying to get the harmonies and melodies and sing while we're dancing, we're also trying to get spacing and formations and all these things right. So it wasn't there was 5 million things going on in our heads while we were doing each song.
Yeah, and you guys were always, it seemed like you guys were always on point. I mean, we're Backstreet lovers, man, but like we always have to give you guys props with the dance moves as well, because you guys, I mean, the synchronization between all members, I mean, smooth.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to joke with those guys a lot too, but Backstreet could dance too. Those guys, those guys definitely put in work, and they were killing it too. So
it just seemed like you guys were doing, I guess you can kind of say like harder or crazier dance moves,
Absolutely.
Well, we actually used to like we kind of were doing breakdancing stuff, and we would flip, and I remember doing tours in Europe where we would just start dance circles with the kids over in Europe. That a lot of those bands weren't even singing their stuff. They were just dancers that were lip syncing and everything. So we'd get in these dance circles with kids that are doing head spins and backflips. So we're like, all right, well then we're going to do head spins and backflips and, front layouts and all this stuff. And I have a disc out in my neck. I have 3 torn ACLs to show for it, but we tried everything.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Not anymore. I can't like cartwheel. Now I'm like, you want me to do a cartwheel?
Yeah. I was thinking about asking you that whenever I seen you at Comic Palooza.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of dance moves, working with Wade Robinson, do you think maybe that's what made you guys stand out a little bit more, was working with such a perfectionist like Wade Robinson?
Well, I mean, yes, for sure. But this goes back, to our very first dance coach, when it was mostly spacing too, was Miles. And we worked with Ivan Dudinsky,
Yeah.
and we worked with Jamal and Rosario, and we worked with Darren Henson, and we worked with Wade. So we always had, dancers that were our choreographers. And basically we said, we want to challenge you, you can challenge us all you want, because we want to make sure that we're putting on a show. And, it kind of goes to our live shows and the fact that the time we take into our live shows, and what we did with our live shows was, I used to walk before every show we ever did. I'd walk up to, the back of the arena or whatever we were playing at the time, and look and go, this kid that's sitting here paid for a ticket to get here, and they have to have as much fun as that kid in the front row that can see everything and is right there getting Joey Fatone's sweat all over him. It's like, so I made sure that everything we did was big. So getting choreographers and finding the right guys, we were like, challenge us. Lance and I aren't the best dancers. Joey's not a great dancer. JC and Justin are pretty good dancers, but we're like, challenge us.
Yeah.
Make me do things that I never thought I could do, and I'll do them. And if I don't get it right, I'll be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week till I get it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. That I think that talks again to the perfectionist in you, man. We don't hear these kind of stories from many people. We've interviewed quite a few people. That's probably the first time that Caleb and I and the fans that are in the house have heard something like that, to go to the back of the arena to make sure that kid who spent whatever he spent is having as much fun as the person in the front row. That speaks to who you are, man. It really does. I hope you know that.
Well, but that's also where I came from. I was always that kid, or I was the kid out in the parking lot that couldn't afford to get into the show, but I wanted to be around it. So, you have to appreciate, everybody that's there and understand that. But that's what made the shows great. What made our live show so great is we would sit down and go over tricks in our head. Like, how can we get to the back of the audience? Like, how can we get closer? How can we fly? Whatever we're doing, try to get to every kid in that audience. So there's a kid that is sitting, way over in the bleacher seats in a baseball stadium. A foul ball comes to him. He doesn't know he's catching a ball that day, but he's catching a ball. So we want to make sure everybody tries to at least get close to catching a ball.
Yeah. Let's talk about the takeoff, man. Let's talk about when things really hit, because you guys came from an era where gangster rap and grunge rock was huge. Let's talk about really taking off, man.
Well, it's kind of crazy that, all that stuff was so big, because that stuff was a reaction to the glam pop of the 80s,
Wow.
all the, kind of young MCs, MC Hammers, to where it was all kind of fun hip hop, or, Poison, fun rock and roll, and all these guys come out and they just kind of say, hey, we're tired of being nice for a little while. We're gonna tell it like it is, and play some dirt for you. So for us to come out and kind of move it from that again was just kind of a transition, because then after us, then it started becoming all the good Charlottes, kind of going back to, it was still pop, but then it became this pop punk scene, and kind of went the other way again, and music just moves in these cycles, and we were just lucky enough that the type of music we did, people were ready for it, and they were not only ready for it, but they were fiending for it. And once we started doing it, they're like, yeah, this is cool again. This is different. It's cool to sing about this or sing about that. And that's one of the reasons that we came out with like pop. And, I was like, but it's not really pop. It's like dirty pop. Like, it's like, it's there's something more to it. It's not this bubblegum, because everybody kept saying it's bubblegum, it's bubblegum, it's bubblegum. And I'm like, we're doing bubblegum. Like, I'm not trying to be oh, we were in a bubblegum band, because we did bubblegum, but we tried to make it a little edgier, a little dirtier, to make it just on the cutting edge of parents going, maybe my kid shouldn't be listening to this because whatever, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, man.
Do you think that's why people or bands like BTS and everything, is that why they're a Korean? I think they're pop Korean. You think that's why they're as huge as they are today? It's because the music, the times of music, is a perfect time for them to release their music.
Well, it is what is it, cyclical, or it does go in waves.
It does,
but
yeah.
I think we're in a crazy time right now, because now there's such a identity mismatch, to where you can have BTS come out and still have this these Iggy Azaleas, or this pop music that's on that side. You've got both sides kind of going, well, it's all kind of cool now. And I think that's mostly due to the access, being on the internet, being able to find all these, rather than just going, oh, I'm going to go with what the trend is now and start doing this whole, bubblegum pop again, or start doing this dirty pop again, or whatever it is. And just really, it's kind of in such a strange place that I don't know if it'll keep doing the cycle anymore, because kids can find whatever they want, and and I was that way growing up. If I was in a great mood, I would listen to like a real pop, like Michael Jackson or something like that. But if I was in like an angry, kind of dissonant mood, it was like The Clash or Sex Pistols, or whatever, because you always wanted that. But it wasn't the cycle of, like, Sex Pistols weren't Dead Kennedys later on. They weren't mainstream, but it was something that I found and got into. Whereas now, kids can go, oh, I'm going to look in a playlist. Pissed Off. Oh, here's my Pissed Off playlist now. Apple has a Pissed Off playlist. All right, perfect. Or, oh, I'm in a great mood today. I want to hear Will Smith's Summertime and jam by the pool and listen to some Buffett or whatever I have to listen to and feel great. So, it's all real. There's so much, the line is kind of erased now, I think.
Yeah. I could see that just looking at I was looking at the Billboard charts today, because BTS released a song. They're like number one on Billboard for Butter, and they released another song today, and it's literally going to be number one. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy the way the Billboard charts, every month you look at it and you compare them, and it's like pop is great this time, country is this, it's pretty crazy.
Well, and I'll tell you too about like BTS and those bands. They're only getting better. All these bands that are coming out are getting better. And I mean, look at One Direction. One Direction releases all these hits, and then they each come out with solo records that are all hits, because in my mind they have to get better, because nobody wants the same thing again. They want, if you come out now, you have to be better than what happened before, or we'll just go back with what we had before. And they're getting better. They're good.
Yeah, me and Matt are always sending each other videos of BTS doing Dynamite. Every time they perform Dynamite, it's different, completely different. But it's just like, I think back in the day when you guys were doing your thing, I think it's just so much bigger now with like these backdrops and like these performances,
Yeah.
For sure.
You had brought something up about how the way you get music has transformed, right? We got people from my kids' age, which are 7 and 5, to 55, 60-year-old people that watch this. Could you possibly take us back to what it was like to go on tour back then? People everywhere camping out. But how do you think music has changed since then, man?
Well, the internet and social media changed the game. I mean, I remember when we were on tour, we had a meeting about doing a website, and that was like the biggest thing. Like, oh man, we're gonna get a website? Like, this is crazy. What are we gonna do on our website? And it was kind of silly at the time because, wow, you know, the ideas and what we were looking for was, you know, kind of what's happening now. But this was 20 years ago, and I was like, you know, why can't this be, you know, fully? We want people to go to our website and be fully engulfed in everything we're doing, into our personal lives, into our shows, you know, so where they feel a part of, you know, all this. And now that's, you know, that's what it is. And, you know, even doing stuff like this, you know, we're doing a Zoom, you know, interview, or, you know, over the internet interview, where back then it was, you know, a website. Hey, we might be able to get we'll put some videos on it. We'll put, you know, this, that on the internet. But the fact, if we could have been able to talk directly to the fans, you know, it would have been a game changer. So it was a lot more, there was a lot more, I guess, bubblegum tape and, you know, whatever, to put the things together and figure out, duct tape this, how's this going to work? You know, put some bubblegum under this, how's this going to work? And no pun intended, but, you know, just to get things to click. It was like, well, we'll do a live stream of this that then we'll later put on our website so people can see this show, or, you know, we can order merchandise straight from the website. So wow, it was a lot. It was a lot. I don't want to say harder, because I'll sound like we walked up both ways to school in the snow, you know, uphill. But yeah, it was just, you know, we didn't have the avenues that they have now. But at the same time, you know, a lot of those things come back to haunt what's going on now. And it's a lot harder where, you know, hey, listen, I don't care how much you've been drinking tonight, give me your phone, because I don't want you getting stupid and tweeting something out, or, you know, whatever. Or, you know, you could be here, and guess what? Everybody in that place has a camera phone. Everybody's got a video recorder. They're going to catch you doing something, and you're going to be in trouble. Whereas back then, we were like, we don't care. I'm drunk, so what? Nobody's going to know, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. It is, man. Is there a song that you guys passed on that you regret?
No.
Really?
Come on.
I don't think so. No, there was never. I mean, there were songs that weren't as big. Like, if they were just on the record, they weren't released as singles or things like that, that I was a little like, oh man, but that's such a good song, or it's so much fun to do live, or, you know, whatever. There's songs we did that I regret and we released, but there's not.
Do discuss.
What song?
Let us know.
What song?
Let us know.
Well, you will get 5. You can ask all 5 of us, and all 5 of us will tell you the exact same song and the exact same thing. It was. I don't even want to tell you, because now you're going to play it, or now you'll find it. And now I'm going to get shoved down my throat. I don't want it shoved down my throat. But we had this song called Riddle, and it was like, it was in Europe. We did it in Europe, and it was this real like song. And it was on one of our first records. So when we toured live, we were touring in Europe, and they're like, "Oh yes, you will do this song. You'll do this song Riddle. We love this song Riddle," and we just hated this song. But so none we passed on, but one we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried you were gonna say something that we all loved, or knew, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So Caleb, mark that down. Riddle is NSYNC's to Backstreet's "If You Want It to Be Good, Girl."
Yeah,
I think I know
that's our
Riddle.
Kryptonite.
That is.
I do. I'm pretty sure I know Riddle.
I don't.
I hope not.
Oh man, the memory.
What's the riddle of it all? What's the riddle on a mind? It's impossible to find. Din, 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 din. Oh God, it was so bad.
Oh yeah, man, we're jamming out over here.
Here we go. Here we go.
I was about to turn on the instrumental for a second, man.
You guys are desperate for music, then.
Yes, we are. I mean, look, music just speaks to us in different ways, you know?
Yeah. Something Caleb and I have always said, man, since we've been doing this podcast is if music makes you feel a certain way, I don't care what it is, Chris. I don't
so
care
true.
what we're talking about. If it moves you, it could be anything. I'll listen. Caleb is a lyric dissectist, but if that's not a word, I'm making one up, right? He looks at the lyrics and he looks at how the music is made and then he sends it my way, man. And it's something I learn every single time listening to old songs that I didn't notice before. And you guys are a pure example of that, man. You guys made music that is timeless, dude.
Man, especially I've got so much music that I'll listen to now, and like those playlists that I have and stuff. One of my playlists that I was so proud of, I had all this amazing song. This kid, 24 Karat Golden, I think, or 24K Golden. I'm not sure exactly what the name is, but he's got a couple songs that I just freaking love, and I'm listening to that, and Imagine Dragons will come on, and certain songs and music that I just love, and then suddenly some random weird ass song will come on, and I'll be like, oh man, I just played that in front of everybody like that. But then when I'm by myself or if I'm in the gym or doing something, I'm like, yeah, nobody knows that I'm listening to this right now. I don't care.
The best part, man. The best place you can go and listen to anything and everything. Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when I used to work out before my back got broke, I used to listen to like NSYNC. I'm not joking, like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and New Kids. Basically all boy bands in my head, and I lost 100 pounds in 3 months by doing it. And just
98 degrees, got to throw 98 degrees in there.
Got to throw them in there too, man. Especially their new song today. I don't know if you got to listen to it, but it's fantastic, man.
It is good.
Well, I was just with Jeff Timmons a couple days ago, and he's one of my favorite human beings.
I talked to him last night, man. He's so great.
You did. He's just a sweet guy. Like he's fun. Him and I just clown. We're like a weird duo, I guess. Yes.
I had saw the video of you guys. It was I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and you were saying like how his muscles and everything are huge, and you were a little hesitant about him.
Oh yeah. He's a specimen. I mean, the kid looks exactly the same. Not like somebody would be like, oh, Chris, you look the same. I'm like, yeah, maybe a few more pounds, here and there, whatever. Jeff
too.
Yeah.
Looks exactly the same.
He just got bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully.
And he can sing his ass off.
He is a good singer. I mean, he's no Chris Kirkpatrick, but he's a good singer,
He said,
all right, man. So we got about 10, 15 more minutes. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but there are some things that we want to dive into, and then we want to get into some submitted questions for you. One thing that I want to talk about is, what's your favorite song that you guys performed on tour? What's the go-to that you just love rocking out to?
I liked doing Space Cowboy because we had some fun. We used to have these giant mechanical bulls that were fun. We had I loved Girlfriend.
Oh yeah, us too.
I loved it. It's gonna be me. It's gonna be me was always. It's gonna be me and Pop. We're probably I know Bye 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 was our biggest, but those two were probably. I mean, I wouldn't. The only reason I wouldn't say Bye 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 is because we've had to do it, 5 billion times. Yeah. But other than that, it was fun to do. But I think It's Gonna Be Me was just nasty. Like it was always just, and Pop or Dirty Pop was just, it was exactly that. It was just dirty pop. It was the sounds, everything that BT put on that was just, it was like the meanest bubble gum you could ever chew.
Yep.
That's right. Perfect.
That's well described, man.
Yeah.
That's perfectly described.
All right, man. So I want to go back now to the Ariana Grande performance with you and the guys. What kind of brought that on, and did obviously had to bring back a bunch of memories and emotions.
Yeah, it was. She had that song that she was always a fan of ours and used to come to the shows, and she's she's a gem. She's such a sweetheart, and I got a call. I think it came through JC. JC called me and was like, "Listen, Ariana's playing Coachella, and she's got that song, and she wants us to come out and sing with her, and then maybe do our own number, and then do another number with her. So are you willing? Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "My old ass? They want my old ass to get up there and perform with her and her dancers and stuff." So that's kind of how that came about, and all five of us were asked, but Justin would have done it, but he had he'd already had a gig that he had to do, and I think there was something with he was gonna do Coachella but couldn't do Coachella because of this, so then he couldn't do that either, because if he turned down Coachella he couldn't do that. I'm not sure about that, but I know that he would have done it too. But it ended up just being the four of us, and it was a family reunion, and I mean that in the utmost of the sense, in that there were a lot of happiness, and there was a lot of fighting, and there was a lot of shut ups and you're wrong, and I mean we've all stayed in touch, so we're all like brothers, and we know how to handle each other, and a lot of times all they like to do is poke me with a stick and get me to for my eyes to turn green and me to turn into the Incredible Hulk and go ape shit on some people, but and we all know how to handle each other, and we know how to push each other's buttons, so that's what happened.
Well, you guys were I'm telling you, like as a guy, you guys were incredible. That was everybody's dream. It was such a big thing, I know, on all the news media the next day, even that same night. But watching you guys even like doing Tearing Up My Heart and things, perfectly in sync too.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was, like I said, it was strange to bring back all those memories again, and think that at our old age we're still doing these songs or doing whatever we're doing, but it was great to just our camaraderie and just to be together, and like I said, even the fighting made sense, and afterwards was fun. It was like just like we used to do it. It's like, oh, well, Chris is gonna be a jerk, and Joey's gonna do this now, and Lance is gonna do this now, and JC's gonna do this now, and they're all gonna just bitch at each other and argue over certain things, but when it comes together just like always.
Caleb had talked about Comic-Con, right, before we went on air, and how he had met you. Before we get into that story, I think this is a good statement from one of our dear friends and one of the fans of the show that'll lead right into that. From Rory, he said, "I've been an NSYNC fan since I was 16. I was ridiculed in high school for being a fan because, quote, it's not normal for a guy to be an NSYNC fan. They got me through some very hard times in my life. To this day, I remember the date, time, and location and opening act of my very first NSYNC concert. I still have the ticket stubs somewhere." I think, again, I mean, that was more of a statement, but I think that speaks to who you are, who you guys were and still are as people. I mean, Caleb will talk about the Comic-Con story next, but I mean, hearing those type of things, Chris, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means that we did it right. It means that we never forgot why we were there or what we were doing, and the job at hand was. It always cracks me up if I see anybody, sports people or anything like that, and they're coming in someplace and somebody's like, "Hey, can I have your autograph?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, but that's who you are, and that's the reason you're where you are, is because of these people that want your autograph, and that you don't know who that kid is. That kid could have all of your football, baseball, basketball jerseys, or have all your records, or do whatever, and you just really, knocked yourself off of that pedestal that person had put you on, and it's hard. It's hard if I'm sitting down to eat and I'm with my kid and my wife, and I'm in the middle of eating, and somebody comes and grabs my arm and they're like, "Hey, you're Chris. You're not Chris. I don't believe you. Let me see your driver's license," or things like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're like, "Listen, I'm not here. I'm here because of the fans, and because of people that bought the records and bought the merchandise and came to the shows and watched the countless of whatever interviews or things we did." So we were fans. We were big fans at one time, and we always remember that. And I always remember if I met somebody and I was like, "Man, they're kind of a dick." It's like it sucks. It sucks because then you're like, and you don't want to be a dick. And I had a girl come up to me one time. Funny enough, I was at one of those Comic Cons, and the whole time she was having fun and everything was great. And she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that till this weekend, I hated your guts."
Whoa.
And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Wow.
And she was like, "Yeah, it was at one of our charity events. You were walking by the crowd, and I looked over at you, and I asked you a question, and you rolled your eyes at me." And I was like, "Man, it's like you have to watch every little thing you do and every time, because you don't know." And like I said, that kid in the back of the seat, at the back of the auditorium, that could be their only show. They could have saved up all year for that one show. And, you let them down, and there's not going to be another show, or there's not going to be a continuation of, well, NSYNC's my favorite. It's going to be like, yeah, I went through this NSYNC phase at one point, but they were dicks, and they sucked in concert, or they were, whatever. And, you can't get over, you can have a million people say they love you, but that one person that says, they don't, and they hate you, that's the one everybody remembers, and that's the one everybody listens to, because they tell that story to, 3 of their friends, and those 3 friends go tell that story to 3 of their friends, and the next thing you know, it's a game of telephone. By the end of it, you punched a kid, for no reason, and you had nothing to do with it, but you made a bad inflection on that one person, and that's your reputation with who knows countless other people that have never met you.
Yeah,
that's pretty incredible you say that, because I go to a lot of Comic Cons, and some of the heroes on TV and movies, I've experienced that. I've experienced my girlfriend, actually. I could say it on air. I brought her to meet the cast of Smallville, and most of the cast were horrible to us. Like we had paid like $60 to take a selfie, and we were like, "Hey, we're big fans," and he's like, "Hey, are we gonna take a picture or what?" Like in the middle of the sentence. Jeez. And then right next to him was another guy from Smallville, and the same thing. And that was $120 that we spent. And my girlfriend was heartbroken. By the way, we were watching Smallville at that time, and we still have we haven't touched it since, because it's a bad taste in our mouth.
Yeah. Well, that's what it does.
It does.
That's what it does.
I mean, man, look, and I could say it publicly, like my first Comic-Con was Comic Palooza. It must have been 2017, maybe 2016, but you were there. Members of O-Town were there. AJ McLean was there. I mean, everybody who I wanted to be like in my life was there, literally all in one row. And I didn't know how, this is my first con, and my buddy was like, "Yeah, just go up to him and go get a picture." And the conversation that AJ and I had was like 20 minutes long, and he was the first guy I got to meet. And then I was like, I gotta go meet Chris. Chris and his falsetto. Like I gotta talk to him and tell him, like, thank you for doing being who you are in your life, and following your dreams and all. But we talked for probably 15 minutes before my buddy Paul walked up. And this might actually jog your memory really well. he had a Simpsons tattoo of a red fish. And you were like, I know, where did I see that before? And he was like, you should know you were on an episode. But this is you right here, man, with my buddy Paul and myself. And we had the greatest time with you. And let me tell you this, man. And Paul told me, make sure you tell him this. Paul was not a fan of boy bands in his life because he's about 10 years older than I am. So that at that time, you know, guys especially were not into those things. But, you know, Paul was like, that was the nicest guy I think I ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
Oh man,
Like
he's been misled.
I mean, you know, what's funny is, you know, because he was like teasing me the whole time. You're going to go meet a Backstreet Boy and NSYNC, you know, and just ragging on me. But after he met you, because y'all talked for like 15 minutes about The Simpsons. And it was the funniest thing ever watching him because like he was like, you know, at that time he was going through a dark period, which, you know, that's another thing. You never know what someone's going through. And man, you seriously cheered him up of all people because I think Tara Reid was there and she just looked kind of coked out. Like she just didn't, and it broke Paul's heart. That's Paul's like favorite celebrity for American Pie. And it broke his heart. And then he talked to you and he felt a whole lot better.
Wow. Well, you know, that's kind of the crazy thing. Like you just said, you never know what somebody's going through. Actually, I listened to, like, obviously I was wanted to be a psychologist and all that. So I listened to a lot of, you know, self-help books or, you know, whatever, just to try to feel, you know, how to interact with people, not be the kind of jerk that I can be sometimes. But, you know, one of the stories that you've heard of Anthony Robbins.
Yep.
One of the stories Anthony Robbins told was there was a guy who was on a subway one time and these kids were running all around the subway, messing with people, yelling at people, screaming and doing all this stuff. And the dad was just sitting on the chair doing nothing. And, you know, finally the guy was like, you know, this is ridiculous. This guy's not taking care of his kids. You know, this is horrible. I'm going to have to go say something. So he walked up to the guy and goes, hey man, you know, your kids are running around creating a muck and you're just sitting there doing nothing. You know, you should control your kids. And the guy looked up at him and said, you know, their mom just passed away this morning and I don't know how to tell them. You know, so it's like you think that you have an idea because you assume that everybody's kind of in the same boat that you are at the time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I still get real moody. When I'm in a great mood, I just expect everybody should be in a good mood. If somebody's in a bad mood, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Or if I'm in a really bad mood and I'm just like, God, today sucks. I'm just in a bad mood. Why is this guy so freaking happy? Or why is that child laughing? You know, it's like, it's ridiculous stuff, but you always expect it. People are in the same kind of boat you are. You never really sit there and go, well, maybe that guy's on his down day, or, you know, maybe that guy's just gone through some crazy, you know, and I try to think of that because I'm the worst on the road. Like I get road rage like crazy. It's so.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing that whole, all right, well, that guy cut me off. I'm going to get up there. But you never know, like, you know, what that person's going through or why they're in a rush to get where they are. I mean, maybe they're just some dickhead driving down the street like an asshole. Or, you know, maybe they just caught their wife cheating and they're freaking out in their car, you know. So it's like you never know what somebody's going through. So I always try to approach everybody with the same, you know, kind of, you know, feel you out. And, you know, if I'm pretty good at judging characters and judging, you know, people's level of security with themselves or in the situation. And, you know, I just kind of roll with it and try to make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah. And that's something that's crazy because it hit me because when Paul approached you, he was like looking for me for like 20 minutes and he was like, he's probably with the Backstreet Boys. Let me go over there. And Paul approached you. He didn't speak to you. He was coming and get me. And then you were the one that pointed out the tattoo of the red fish. And that's when, like, you know, he just started opening up and, you know, talking about The Simpsons with you and different things. And for like 15 minutes, man, you know.
I think one of the greatest things that, you know, one of the greatest gifts that I ever got through the band was, and I said this, I remember us sitting around in a circle. I don't even think Lance was in the band yet. It might have just been like me, Joey, and Lance or whatever with me, Joey and Justin, with a group of, kids our age, just talking about it. And we were talking about, oh yeah, our band's gonna be huge and we're gonna be big. And I just remember sitting there and thinking to myself, like, man, if we're big, like this is such a great opportunity, because as it is, as me right now, as Chris Kirkpatrick, I can help this person today, maybe this person tomorrow, or maybe that person the next. If we become huge, I can, help so many more people, or understand and where people are coming from. And the best compliment we always get is, your music helped us through a really rough time. And again, we were fans, we were fans first. I know what it's like when I meet somebody that I grew up with, somebody that I knew every song on their record, every place they were playing, everything about this group. And when you meet them, you're like, no, you have no idea. And they look at you and go, okay, whatever. And you're like, no, really, you have no idea. So when a kid comes up to me and they're like, listen, you have no idea. I'm like, no, I do have an idea. I do know what it means. It means a lot. And it's awesome. It's an honor to be a part of that. Like to be a part of so many people's childhoods, or their, teen years, or their young adult years, or their adult years, times of their lives, they are synonymous with NSYNC, or with what we've all been able to do. And it's really cool.
Yeah, man. I think it's important to point out why we have you. And I think we would be crazy not to, on this platform. People like Caleb and I mean, you think of something as simply as our taste in music, right? I mean, look, we're two grown men doing a podcast about pop music in the 90s and 2000s. Again, I'm sure this is cliche, but your music, your guys' music, the band that you started helped us through a lot of times, man. It's not easy being a Backstreet and NSYNC fan growing up as a male, people don't talk about it enough. And people like you, they say, don't meet your heroes. Don't meet your idols. Yeah. This has been great for us, man. And hearing the stories like Caleb has about you at Comic-Con, that's not, you don't get that all the time, man. We've talked to a lot of people, and people like you are one of a kind. And we can't thank you enough.
I think it's really cool to, another thing that's changed over the years is this whole gender identity, type thing, to where, now it's not as big a deal anymore. 20 years ago, it was a bigger deal. 30 years ago, it was a way bigger deal. 40 years ago, it was a huge deal. But now internet and being able to understand and meeting people and understanding, where they come from, I think it's a lot easier now, to be guys that listen to boy bands and not have to worry about somebody going, oh, that guy must be gay, or he must have, whatever, who cares? Now it's just like all across the board, people are realizing people are people, and we're all just, we're all trying to figure our own way around this freaking world and what we're doing. So, the judgment has definitely, flattened out. The judgment isn't as, crazy anymore. And now you see, more gay athletes coming out, and, they said there'd never be a gay football player. Now we've got a gay football player, homosexual football player. And it's great, because now people are realizing that, hey, people are people. Just because this is who I love, doesn't define me. Right. That's just my love life. That has nothing to do with, I'm still the same person you thought I was. Yeah. So it's cool to see things really changing, and kind of say Lance has been a big part of that too. Lance coming out, when Lance came out, helped a lot of kids go, hey man, I always thought I was weird because of this, but Lance comes out and goes, listen, I was in a boy band. I was up there in front of, in stadiums full of 80,000 people, where 70,000 of them were screaming girls, at me. And here I am, a gay man going, this is fun and all, but it would be a lot more fun if we had a lot more guys or whatever, and it really helped with everything and helped, kids, because like you were saying with your heroes, you never know when there's that kid out there going, I hate my life. I'm gay. My parents aren't going to accept me. My friends aren't going to accept me. I don't know what to do. And someone like Lance or somebody comes out and they're like, hey, you know what? They came out. They're an amazing person. I look up to them. I can do it too. So, it's been a really good thing all across the board with music and with what you listen to and who you're a fan of and no judgment anymore.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is. It's all about no judgments and no judgment zone.
I love
Well, it only took us a million years or however long, hundreds, thousands of years to figure that out.
True. It's true, man. Truthfully, I think it took too long, because of course, there's a lot of people who aren't with us anymore, and I think about that stuff quite often. If things were different 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but yeah.
That was awesome. Oh man, a lot of facts were spit right there, Chris. You never know, man. What you just said, probably somebody needed to hear that somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We just got deep. I think I need to put a Sharpie mustache on myself now and do something funny.
You dropped the mic, man.
Oof. All right. On that note, Chris, if you could go back and talk to yourself, if you could give yourself any piece of advice, younger Chris, what would it be?
I don't know. I mean, I think and I heard Jordan Knight say this one time, and it always stuck with me, but I don't think it resonated with me. And he said, "Know your power," and that was always really deep to me, and that was always like, man, and I wish I would have taken more control of myself rather than, being from the humble beginnings, the welfare, homeless, things that I went through, to superstardom or whatever, and really understood it rather than going, holy crap, let's all go out and get, wasted and party a little bit and, do whatever, and really kind of stick to what got me there a little more than I did. But that's probably it. And maybe when they said, let's record riddles, say no.
Oh,
Man.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I mean, not about riddles.
I know that riddle sucks, doesn't it?
Uh-oh.
Man, I'll be sent. I'm gonna go through my VHS tapes and find whatever I can about riddles and send it to you, man.
What's next for Chris Kirkpatrick? What's coming up for you, my man?
Right now I'm doing a lot of music. I actually work with AJ on this project called All the Cool Kids, where we've got new music all the time, and him and I are performing together at Vegas, and we're going to be doing a lot more shows together. And
awesome, man.
I still do stuff with some of the other guys. I still do hosting stuff, but I think my priority and my favorite thing is the fact that most of the gigs I do and most of the stuff I get to do are usually on weekends, and I'll fly in somewhere and do some shows or whatever, and then I get to spend anywhere from 5 to 7 days with my kid. That's and awesome. My kid is my world. I mean, he really. I think I have more fun with him because I'm reliving everything through him, and that's the reason I love it.
Wow. And there's nothing better, right? I mean, knowing that there's somebody that depends on you quite literally for their life waiting for you. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world, looking into their eyes and seeing yourself, right? I mean, it's insane.
What's crazy is I don't even think it's seeing myself in his eyes. I think it's seeing the world in his eyes. I think it's it's getting to, like, today, we just flew in today from Nashville, and we let him sit by the window, and just watching him look out and like look, wow, I'm flying, like I'm up in the sky, those houses down there, I'm way above them, and thinking to myself, man, I was like in 8th grade, I think, before I took my first flight. And here he is at 3 years old, getting to experience that and getting to, look around and go, what is this? What is, where is this place? Or I've never been here before, and I've been there 5 million times, and he's never been there. And to watch him through his eyes and me go, that's what I used to love about this, or this is what I used to love about this movie, or this is what I used to love about playing, Cars or G.I. Joes or whatever, him and I will play together. It's getting to see how his mind is working and just going, okay, this is really neat stuff, and getting to do it all over again.
Yeah, it's special.
That's the best thing about having kids. You get to be a kid
It's
again,
special. Yep. And you don't get looked at weird.
That's right.
That's true. Right. He's just being a dad.
Yeah.
What's that old guy in the toy store for? It's for my kid.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these G.I. Joes for my kid. Meanwhile, I'm not even married at the time. Don't have kids. Now it just makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess if you don't mind, if we can just have just a few more minutes with you and just ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
All right.
Fan questions?
Yeah. We'll this is going to be great for you. Any interest in joining BackSync?
That is not a thing. I don't think that's a thing. I don't know what's going on with that.
It's been secret.
I just heard about it like last week or something. I was like, what is this BackSync thing? I thought they just did a show together or something. They were making a joke. I like Kevin. Kevin's cool.
Kevin said he didn't know about it until it was on the news or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing.
Well, I think it should.
Not say something like that wouldn't happen, but
yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, no, I understand, man. What's your let me see. I'm sorry. Actually, that's the two. What do you have, Matt?
All right. So what is your favorite memory during NSYNC, and what goals do you have for the future?
Man, I have about 1 million favorite memories from NSYNC. They're probably all my favorite memories.
Yeah.
Well, all my favorite memories are no, that's not true. I mean, I have some when I was young too, but for the most part, they all either were in NSYNC or had to do with NSYNC, or the opportunities that I got through that. So there's many. My goal for the future is, I don't know, maybe get back to the grindstone a little bit on the music side, and really now that I'm in Nashville, I should be working a lot harder on that side than I am.
Yeah. All right, Caleb, we got last one here. Biggest regret, Chris Kirkpatrick. Biggest regret.
Biggest regret. Do girls count?
No, that's off the board. We all have that, right?
No, I wouldn't say that, because if it got back to any of the ones I was thinking, no, they're all awesome. All my ex-girlfriends are amazing.
They're watching right now.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think I don't think I really have regrets, because everything's either a learning mistake or not. So anything that I would go back and try to change, I wonder how different I would be, or how it could have changed me if you go back in the butterfly effect, you tweak a little bit here, or do a little bit here. I mean, you gotta get dirty to get clean. You gotta get germs to get antibodies. It's like you gotta make mistakes to learn. And I keep all my mistakes. I mean, I guess I probably, the only thing that I have is my temper and my quick to snap. Like there's not a lot of counting from 10 with me. Like it's always just like, wait, what? And quick knee-jerk reactions that I usually afterwards, I'm like, man, that was stupid. I shouldn't have. My first reaction was to do that. So I think just my quick to judge people or events.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we just want to say, man, let us know what you're doing in your future, especially with music, because we're your number one boy fans.
Yep, I agree.
And we're definitely
Cool. I appreciate it.
Anything we can do to promote you, or especially when you guys decide to release, Air, especially. Big fans of the song, man.
Oh yeah.
Big fans of the song.
I like that song.
It was so cool to hear you sing that, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Chris, man, thank you for taking the time to get, to let us get to know you. We love you, man. Keep grinding. Anything you do, anything we can do, let us know. And when you guys are back in Vegas, like Caleb and I know, man, we'll do a live show from there.
Yes.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work with this show and what you guys are doing. I know a lot of people appreciate it, and you're making a lot of people happy by what you do. So thank you guys.
Means the world, man.
We'll see you soon, my man.
All right.
Episode
Sounds good, guys.
49. Podcast for the fans, by the fans. Peace.
Whoa! It's the Frick and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans, by
This
the
is the
fans.
Frick and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans, by the
Frick
fans.
and Frack Show, a podcast for the fans, by the fans.
All right, guys, you're watching the Frick and Frack Show podcast for the
For the fans, by the fans.
Love you.